Hello there, people of the internet. My name is Udur Jagero, and this is... Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right. Hello there, people of the internet. My name is Udur Jagero, and this is Political Headache. Today, we are going to Addis Ababa.
Addis Ababa.
Addis Ababa.
Addis Kababa.
Hey.
I am with Kasmuel McOure. Yes. How are you feeling, bro?
I'm alive.
You're alive? You know? Post-nut clarity.
Inauma lakini tutazoea.
Okay. Fargona,
Yes.
how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm wondering why you didn't introduce the lady first.
Yeah,
Did you not go to school? Or you passed by?
Yeah, these are people. School will go through you. Which is which?
Yes, tell us.
Bwana,
Village outfit.
this is story. Mimi nilizaliwa huko. Nilizaliwa huko. But I was supposed to be in my car. I forgot.
No. What do you
We
mean?
go on?
No, we're used to you. Stop pretending.
Yeah, what do you mean you forgot? Yeah.
Today we are going to be talking about Luo politics at Addis Ababa. We are going to be talking about Luos. We are all Luos here, by the way.
Are we?
Very good.
Very nice.
Very nice.
God is happy.
Yes.
God is happy.
Baba is happy.
You are talking to her and you are telling her that there is a reason why Baba lost. By the way, today, people of the internet, we are going to be talking about the aftermath of the AU chairmanship elections. And I felt something when I saw Baba getting into the car, the limousine. Was it a limousine?
With the president.
With the president.
Yeah.
It was
stately.
It was very stately.
It was a beautiful moment.
Was it?
Yeah. Because, you're seeing these people who've had a previously antagonistic relationship sort of agree that this one is for country. And I think there could be lapses in protocol, but between the two, you could see that it was very clear that, hey, this one is for Kenya. And other people interpret it differently. Other people say that maybe President Ruto was doing whatever it is that he was doing so that to prove himself to have done enough, but his best was not good enough. But then there are other people who are also just saying that for once we saw the president being very genuine with Raila Odinga, and he just gave the campaign his all. So there's two camps of people who have, and they have various reasons for both schools of thought. They are saying that the president didn't need to do all of this, he didn't need to take as many photos, he didn't need to do this and that. And then there's this other camp that's saying, we have seen the thing that you have done for us, and you can also count on us to support you whenever you need us. But Addis was, as a person who was there who witnessed it, there was a lot of synergy from both teams. There was a lot of respect. It was not as hectic as functions which I've seen both of them, especially locally. Because, I've gotten into a bit of run-in with the protocol team when people were in Siaya at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Stadium. But in Addis, it was different. The protocol was better streamlined, and they all agreed. And there was the general temper that everyone is here for one purpose. And it's not you, it's not me, it's not any of our differences. We're not here to discuss how we can forge forward. We're here to be in solidarity with the Kenyan candidate.
And then Raila failed.
And then
Kenya failed.
That is the thing.
Yes.
That is the thing that I want to ask our dear lady on the podcast.
Yes.
Welcome to Political Headache.
welcome to the headache.
This is where we talk about things political
Yes.
and the headache that goes with it.
Yeah. The
You know?
difficulty of it all.
Yeah.
The things we
A lot of people on the internet immediately the news broke that Mahmoud had become the AU chairman. People sank, a huge part of the country sank. And, one of the things that was going on the telly was that Kondele was live on one part of the screen.
Yes.
And they were seeing it.
Yes.
And a lot of people were saying that this sounds like 2022, this sounds like 2007, this sounds like 2017, So when you say that a very big percentage of Kenyans did not think that Baba failed, but that Kenya failed, they thought that Raila failed.
I think we need to get to the point where we are mature enough to look at things as they are and understand exactly what's going on. This was not a Baba seat. This was Kenya's seat. He didn't go as Baba. He went as Kenya. And Kenya has some issues that we need to sort out. Some of these issues had actually come out the last time. We didn't sort it out. Yeah. So it's not Baba, it's Kenya. The other thing is you have to applaud Baba for wanting to put his neck out for Kenya, because if it was me, I'd have told you people to stuff it. Yeah, right. I mean, you people never have any thanks anyway.
Yeah,
you know, and God. But he was still able to put aside his feelings, whatever it is, because he's a human being. You can't expect that whatever he's gone through with Kenya is just nothing, you know, off his back. He's an old man. He'd rather, I'm sure he'd rather be sleeping somewhere. But Kenya is bigger than all of us. We keep saying that. And Baba has shown up for Kenya multiple times, and this is just one of those times. So instead of getting excited and thinking that, oh, Baba lost because he's dancing on the blood of Jesus, I think it's very unfair.
There was also another school of thought where I saw on corners of the internet that this was not particularly if you're to simplify it, a Baba failure, but a President William Ruto failure, because they were extrapolating and saying that he was rejected in his home, and he was rejected internationally, and now on the African front that he had also been rejected. So there's also that school of thought where a lot of the disdain that was directed Odengawad was actually, he was collateral, that this was a preserve for the government of the day, and anyone who seems to, at any moment, come in congruence with the government of the day, which is the government of President William Ruto. So there's that whole discourse, and then the other layered part is a blatant expository of the fact that we've not yet overcome the simple tribal arithmetic in our country, because a lot of the things, if you saw it, it felt as though it was a turn for example, the people who are allied to the former deputy president to have their laugh, because they felt like, you see, when our person was impeached, they laughed. So now this is the time for us to laugh, and we don't care. So what he should do is he should come and join us in Mamunyoro and help us to
But that is really funny, because while the people that are allied to Gachagua were laughing, Gachagua was not.
Maybe
But hold that thought, because I want to go back to Felgona and ask her the question that she talked about, that there are things that as Kenya we need to sort out. What are those things that we need to sort out as Kenyan?
We're not as popular as we think we are in the region. People don't like our politics, our regional politics. And we must actually understand that. You cannot be in the AU and not have the same stance as the AU, you know, and expect people are going to vote for you. And it's not as easy as, oh, people saw this president was not good to his people, so now they're paying. Nobody cares about what's happening in your country, because there are so many other countries that have worse human rights allegations against them, but they have interests that they would like somebody else to be able to, you know, to uphold, but you don't align with them, so we don't care. It's not anything that's happening in your countries. When you come out, what are you telling us? Yeah, when I see you with former colonialists, what are you saying to me? When we have decided we are going this direction and you stand by yourself and display this arrogance and say, I don't see anything wrong or whatever it is that's going on in such a place, then they have repercussions.
Can you spell those things? Because I feel like you're not saying things.
No, she has. I think...
No. The last part of her statement, that because I think you are referring to the fact that President William Ruto was talking to the French.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
And you know what has been happening in Rwanda, you know what has been happening in the Congo. You know, there are people who have died, you know, and some that belong to other parts of Africa. So when we play such games, we must know their repercussions. And people don't forget easily. You know, I think maybe as Kenyans we think everybody forgets, like we forget every 5 years. We have a new, you know, a new plate. But as we said, some of these things were talked about Amina's time. Yeah, some of these issues were talked about then, when people felt, certain countries felt that, you know, Kenyans display a certain arrogance. Kenyans interfere with internal affairs of certain people. You know, so all these things were there then. There's nothing new that we are being told now. It's just a new phase, and it happens to be Baba, who carries a lot of, you know, different feelings depending on what side of the fence you sit on.
Do you think it's possible do you think we've gotten to the point where we can have this discussion objectively without conflating it with what's happening locally?
I don't think so. We are not mature. We are not mature. But even look at what's happening to you. You woke up one day in the morning and decided, okay, I feel my political ambitions would be better served here. And suddenly everybody's like, oh, traitor, oh, this, oh, that, and they're saying all manner of wicked things about you. Why can't I be okay with you holding a certain opinion and I hold a different opinion? And it doesn't have to be anything.
Because the other question I would ask in terms of pushback is, there's also another school of thought that I've seen on the internet, where there's the sanitization of our former president Uhuru Kenyatta, because he's a more personable, he was a more personable president, if you may, but the atrocities were just as bad in his regime, and now people are saying that they would rather front him for UN roles. It's okay for him to get UN roles, but it's not okay for Baba to get AUC roles. Exactly. And that's the thing which I do not know if, as a society, as a Kenyan society, we're at the point where we understand that these things, while closely related, are so distant in terms of their magnitude. Because I don't see how the tribal arithmetic works, but it's still there, it's still in play. It's still, because in our reaction, remember, we even outsourced, just in terms of a PR perspective, because we know that if you're to think about it, ideally, it was a presidential vote. But what we did with the candidacy of Honorable Odinga was that we onboarded everybody who would have a sentiment against him, and but at the same time, we were very happy to see that Uhuru was trending for saying that we should not cry when aid has been cut from our country. We should, when he would do things, it seemed as though we're still at a tribal precipice. It's just not coming out clearly, and that's why I keep on asking: is there possible objectivity in this issue? Because some people also say that we failed because there were 100 MPs in Addis.
But you see, that's the reason why I am very much conflicted with the whole issue, because I was asking Philgona about why people think that we are boastful, that we are, we essentially do not want to see, to make our image so that when we go out there, people are seeing that image. And what I don't know whether it's an excuse, because, for example, somebody said online that we have lost this thing 7 times. 7 times, about 7 times. And I'm just wondering that are people outside there really giving us reason as to why we are failing? These are excuses. Because if we are, for example, saying that Ruto was talking to the French and he was sort of not wanting to sympathize with the people of Congo. For example, the Congo issue, we know that the M23 is something that has been supported for a very long time by Rwanda. Rwanda is supporting the Tutsis that are of the Eastern Congo. And this is something that Kagame has said several times. As a matter of fact, Tshisekedi, the president of Congo, was the other day saying that he's ready to attack Rwanda. And Rwanda said, dare you do what you're suggesting. You can't even defeat people in your own country. How can you defeat? So the South Africans themselves sent people. Tshisekedi himself, for example, decided to kick out the East African army that was supporting him there and brought in the SADC. If Tanzania refused to go there when it was time for the East African countries to go and support those guys, when SADC came to help, they rushed there. You see, so I do not understand, and I don't think that is very genuine when other countries are saying that we are tone deaf.
But you see, Tanzania is also in SADC. Tanzania is in SADC. Yes,
and that's the thing. And so I do not understand. For me, I just think that whichever way Kenya represents itself, whichever way we clean ourselves,
would not.
I don't think for some reason. For example, what is so good about Djibouti?
Because the other thing, sorry to just jump in and hog the space. Remember the same sentiments we were having against Honorable Odinga, the same sentiments in the Djibouti space that they were having about Mahmoud.
Yeah.
Like the young people in Djibouti did not want the man to win. It just to extrapolate whatever it is that you've said earlier, is I also do not think that this is a thing that I could wholly fault on maybe policy or whatever, because if you've not gotten it consistently, it means that the people do not want us to be there. But also, do the African countries want larger democracies or more established democracies to occupy that seat? Because if you observe the trend, the people who've...
Small countries.
Yes,
yeah.
it's
small countries.
Small countries. And maybe also...
Has Uganda ever won this thing?
No.
Has Tanzania never won this thing?
No.
Because for me, from where I sit, I always think that this is just a game of numbers. You can go to the AU, to Addis Ababa as quickly clean as you can. But if you do not have the numbers, you can't win that thing.
Yeah.
For example, if SADC writes a letter to 16 of their members
Yes.
to go for Mahmoud.
Yes.
So then, why? Because there was the other Andriato guy, and
Yes,
that name is so...
Amandriato. And
So why they decided that we are not voting for Odinga and we are not voting for the other guy, correct? So why did SADC reject that other guy?
Somebody asked, then what are we doing at the AU?
yeah, because we contribute quite greatly, and our neighbors, we sign off, we are their guarantors
Yes.
for loans.
So if it's not benefiting us,
Yes, then why do we keep contributing?
Why? How does AU benefit Africa as a whole? How? I'm asking you.
I think there's the geopolitical aspect which it allows. I would look at it as a big networking hub that makes it easier for professionals to access opportunities intra borders. It allows trade. It allows especially the development of like Cairo to Cape Town, those kinds of major highways. It lessens the burden, but also
because right now, if you want to negotiate with Germany, you can't negotiate with Germany in terms of trade. You have to negotiate with AU.
Yes,
but African countries, we are still individually negotiating.
Yeah, it's very true, because you see also we suffer the traumatic disorder that came with colonialism, because when people talk about France, there's a France Afrique,
Yes.
which is their heavy presence in Africa, which cannot be ignored. And even you see, then if we are to talk about when people are saying I spoke to President Macron by Ruto, President Macron visited Djibouti. Was it this year or last year? Yes. And so there's still the very heavy influence of the Western colonial powers, and we cannot overlook the weight that they carry, the gravitas that it comes with aligning yourself to those powers. I think we've gotten to the point where maybe we are not doing too badly. So this is a crabs in a bucket, in a barrel thing, where we're like, no, but these people are already doing this kind of thing. But however, not to absolve Kenya of all our... that we've had very many diplomatic missteps from the point of a citizen. Our stance on the Israel and Palestinian conflict, for example, where SADC comes out very clearly and says that, if anything, South Africa is prosecuting Israel at the International Court of Justice, and we come out and we say we're pro-Israel. So bad to the point where we even, like I was saying earlier, Daystar was considering having an Israel corner. And whatever it is, you could peg it to Christianity, but it was just not the best political move. When we talk about when President Ruto ascends into power in 2022, we also had a diplomatic blunder. Was it the West Sahara or Sahrawi? I do not know what it was. That was a diplomatic misstep there. Our whole M20 situation in the Congo. Us partnering with the United States for the Haiti mission, it's to the people who are thinking about maybe liberation and whatnot. Haiti is a sacred land. It's a land which we ideally should partner with on their terms and not on external powers' terms. But I might not sit from a presidential vantage point, from the citizenry and the simple thing, because these are the people who are the true republic. We had a lot of...
So let me ask you then something, Felgona, because then you said when we started this conversation that this is a Kenyan issue, that Raila essentially was Kenya in Addis, correct? That's what you're saying. So then let's talk about then campaigns. Is it necessary then for the person who is going to be on the ballot box to be the one doing the shuttle diplomacy? Should it be, for example, don't you think that it is the Kenyan Foreign Affairs Minister that should be doing the shuttle diplomacy instead of Raila himself? Who should actually be doing this?
I think they could have both done it, because there's lobbying involved. Baba is a statesman. He has relationships with the different heads of state. He can do it. There's no problem. I don't know why we're really married to this campaign thing. I don't know. Maybe just because the Djibouti fellow did not move up and down.
The reason why I keep saying that, because this whole campaign process seems to me and looks to me like it should be a government-to-government issue. So then, if Kenya, because from the very beginning, I imagine that Kenya sits down and say that we want to front a candidate. Is that how it works?
Yes.
And Djibouti says we want to front a candidate. And South Africa or Nigeria or Egypt, and then they say, okay, now that we have decided that Mahmoud is going to be the one that we are fronting to the AU as the chair of the AU, and Kenya is saying that we are going to front Raila Odinga, we are going to front Kikwete as Tanzanians. How is it supposed to work from there? Is it Kikwete who now decides that now I'm going to campaign, or is it a national campaign?
No, you actually said it rightly, because I remember in the speech, the team from the government was saying that they're also very proud and grateful to Mr. Odinga because any appointment that they scheduled, he did not miss.
Okay.
So this is a G2G agreement, and it's the governments that plan these things. So it is country to country, but it's the candidate that has been fronted is the one then who honors the invite. Yes. So you might have all your ideas and whatnot, but a lot of the because if it's going to be a presidential vote and you're not a president, how then do you find yourself on a presidential schedule?
But then, and you see, that's why I am now at a loss, because if we shuttled ourselves to Tanzania, for example, and decided to go and talk to the lady in Tanzania that we want Tanzania's vote to give Kenya our vote. What does, for example, the president of Tanzania say? Do they give you their word that we are going to give you our vote?
Yes.
Does Raila go to Egypt and say, okay, the Egyptians have decided that they are going to give us our vote? Yes. So that when you come back a week or a month to the elections, you know that we have got so many of these votes.
Yes, that's exactly how it happens.
Right?
Yes.
And so when we were going to Addis Ababa, how many votes did you have then? Did we have 33?
No, we had an optimistic 28, I think, by the time we were going to Addis.
28?
Yes,
so that does not make 33.
No, but remember, if you have 28 and there's 3 candidates and they're getting all these votes, it means, because the elections happen in rounds.
Okay.
So that by the time it's at 33, because remember, the time Honorable Odinga withdrew from the election was at like the 6th round. When it was starting, I remember round 1 was 20 for Kenya.
Yes.
20.
18. 22
yes,
Kenya?
No, it was 20.
20.
Round 1 was 20 for Kenya, 18 for Djibouti, and 10 for Madagascar.
Okay.
And then now it goes to round 2, and I think it becomes 25, 22, and 8 or something. It was and then now Madagascar falls off, and then we go head to head. So imagine if we started off with 28, because remember, on the first round of voting, Djibouti does not have the majority.
Yes.
Yes. Therefore, it means that if we had because now remember, as the votes continue increasing, I would say the people who had voted for Madagascar said, and it was continuous. The votes did not automatically shift. At first, it was 3 this side, 2 this side. And then now it gets to the point where it goes, and then they're like, okay, now because remember, even by the time Honorable Odinga is withdrawing from the race, Mahmoud has not gotten 33.
Yeah.
Yes. So up until Baba withdrew from the race is when he could make 33.
So 8 countries told us that we are going to look, Kenya, you got our votes, and then they went ahead and lied.
Yeah, but not necessarily lied, because remember there are people who
What things changed?
Uganda was not there.
Uganda did not vote, or they were not there?
I don't even think they were there. I don't think they voted, because I didn't see the President Museveni there.
Which is a huge indictment. Is this the guy that Raila and Ruto were having kettle with the other day?
He became Luo elder.
The first person to be approached for this thing was Uganda, correct?
Yes. But then also remember...
So Uganda was not there, but they are supposed to send a representative.
Ideally. So that's the thing which I say, and then when you leave human beings unsupervised in a closed ballot, I could assure you to the very end, but it you, Brutus.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What beef does Uganda have with us?
I don't know. I thought we were friends.
It's one of those things.
Yes, I thought thought we were friends.
It's one of those things. So I mean, it's
like Museveni asked Ruto for that guy.
And that was also a problem.
Yeah, that's another thing which was an indictment
Really?
to our side. Because remember,
Yeah.
Kenya used to be the safe haven for...
Now if we are kidnapping people.
Yeah, it used to be a safe haven for anyone who was running away from an unstable democracy. And then it feels as though, now remember, Kizza Besigye comes here and then he's kidnapped. That lady, was it Salama from Tanzania? She comes here, Maria, she comes here and then she's...
Deported.
Disappeared. No, not deported, disappeared, and then she was found after the noise on social media. While we might not necessarily zoom those in with a microscopic lens, because there's parts which a lot of players have, but those are some of the things which might lead the general public to lose faith in the Kenyan democracy, which is rather stable, I might say, but they don't do that.
But I wouldn't say that should have been problematic. Probably they told Ruto that if you want my vote at the AU, give me Kizza. Give me Salama, and then I'll give you, because I do not honestly understand. I understand that Tanzanians hate Kenyans for some weird reason. Like, you remember when Vodacom or Safaricom, there is a lady that was supposed to go there and take a very big position in one of their telcos. And
the Sylvia Mlenga?
Yes.
But...
And then, well, that's another. Don't go there. Don't go there. I'm just saying that even the Tanzanians really hate Kenyans, and they do not feature it. Ugandans on the other side have always looked at Kenya as some great country.
Who told you?
Have they?
Or maybe 2-3 people.
10 women not like you.
The city of glasses. They say Nairobi.
4 balloons is in.
He was having a massage.
Okay.
There were 2,000 Kenyan shillings. And you think that they love Kenyans.
Hapo wameninyorosha vile wanakunyorosha online. Let's come back to this country and talk about, okay, do you think that somebody is looking at that house, which is Kenya, and they're seeing fighting, heavy fighting, and people, wanarushiana mangumi, and then they're saying, you guys, you do not even have peace at home, you are fighting and all those things. Why do you think that?
If I'm going to be honest, at the risk of being more unpopular, we have a fairly stable democracy.
Compared to that, even Djibouti.
Nobody, no country can look at us and point a finger. I was at Addis, man, and everyone was just congratulating us and saying, oh, you guys are doing so well. You have such a vibrant democratic space. Like, what country? Tell me a country in Africa that can look at Kenya and say, oh, man, you guys are lagging behind.
South Africa.
And I do not want to, at the risk of exposing, we know the knife crimes, the sexual crimes, the assault crimes that are happening in every city, the highest cases of rape. We enjoy the thing where we are at the fine balance of modernization and traditionalism. So you
don't think Ruto has not poked holes on our beautiful democracy?
I mean,
because we never have abductions during Uhuru time.
Brother, he just had a good PR.
No.
He just had a good PR.
Since the beginning of this country.
I don't think stuff ever peaked.
The way the gay Gen Zs were being picked.
Yes.
It's only that we have
come on,
yes.
people. Tusaidie na maji ya kunywa.
Our social media presence now is strong.
Yes.
Otherwise, we could be talking about something different.
You're the same Uhuru who ran away from social media. After being bullied, and he was like, poor Matusi, It's just that he had, and this is the thing about being personable, a lot of the bile directed, granted, William Ruto has his own failures, but a lot of the grace that was afforded to Uhuru Kenyatta was, one, mostly tribal, but two, rather classist, and because
towards the end of it, he had Baba.
Yes, consistently. Anyone who
now that you guys are talking about the elephant in the room, can I ask you a question, Mr. Kasmuel? Do you think that a huge percent of Kenyans that are against you are doing this on tribal grounds?
It's a decent percentage.
I want to say half.
Yeah.
You want to say half?
It's a decent percentage because I've looked at the situation as it were.
Yeah.
And there was a half that was for me.
Yeah.
And while that half was for me, this other half was against me. But they were not against me as viciously as this current half. If I were to compare it with the left and the right in America, you'd find that the left is very intolerant in the sense that in the right, you could say, oh yeah, let's talk about America, vote Kamala, and that's cool. But in leftist spaces, if you hang out a flag or wore a MAGA hat, that would not have flown. And a lot of this stems from the fact that, and I'll say something controversial, people only hate it when you're aligned to a powerful politician. Nobody has a problem with the lawyers who've joined Rigathi Gachagua right now. Rigathi Gachagua ordered for the arrest and withdrawal of security. You see these things which we're saying, do not withdraw Martha Koeme's security, do not withdraw Justice Mugambe's security, do not withdraw JB's security for saying anything, do not withdraw any government officials. Rigathi Gachagua took a microphone and said, until I see discipline, for about 3 months, you will not have that security. When people were being shot in 2023 for the exact same demonstration we did in 2024. The same person who said nothing when we were being killed, being abducted, being disappeared, tortured, and killed in 2024. Suddenly, he is the current hope. And people do not have a problem if people join him. And they're hiding it behind these beautiful players and saying that, that he is helping us to fight Ruto. No, surely. If it were not for us, who are not influential politicians, you would not even know that it is possible to fight a government. You would not know it is possible to overturn parliament. But suddenly you're telling me now I have to align myself with Rigathi Gachagua. I have made more political motion than he has in this past year, if I'm going to bask in my laurels. However, the people who are aligned to him currently do not face as much flack as the people who, again, the people who are aligned to Kalonzo are not facing as much flack. The people who are aligned to Martha Karua are not facing as much flack. People who are aligned to Eugene Wamalwa, people who are aligned to Matiang'i, people who are aligned to, heck, you could be aligned to anyone. But if you're aligned to Raila Odinga, now suddenly you're a lost case.
Do you think, Felgona, that the problem that, that the problem that we are having in this country is stemming from the fact that Raila has always been looked at as the devil? In let's say, without mincing words, in Mount Kenya. You know, we should be truthful in this.
How can you be a truthful man? Are you regarding yourself?
A good man.
Tulete ingine hapo kwa nini? Wacha nilete patie. You guys were saying that women first. Women first.
I'm curious why you've given it to me.
Hey, mbona umechukua? Mbona kwanza? Si umechukua, si mbona huku pass?
You know.
Yeah, who was talking? I don't know.
You're passing a question to Felgona saying that.
Yes. You have always been very passionate about the tribalism in this country.
Yes.
Do you think that it is getting worse? Ama people are saying okay, because right now the Kikuyus don't like Raila.
No.
Correct?
Many don't. I'm sure there are some who say.
And any other Luo that's a lie to him.
Yes. You see, if you're Luo and you're aligned to Baba, there's something wrong with you. But if you're Luo aligned to anybody else, you are okay. You are palatable.
Yes.
We can manage you.
Right.
Yeah.
But we are saying we need to get to the level of maturity where we can fight about ideologies.
Yes.
Leave me my personal choices alone.
Yes.
I can do whatever it is I feel like. I'm within the confines of the law. I'm not breaking the law by supporting Baba.
Yes.
But this tribalism thing is such a big snake, so to speak. It's a monster that we don't like talking about. We'd rather sweep it under the carpet and say, oh, Kenya is bigger than... I like saying that as well. Kenya is bigger than all of us. We like saying, very many stupid things. I have Luo friends. Yes. I voted for Baba. Some very meaningless to things, cliches that just so that I make it. But deep down, you have a problem with me. And I have a problem with you.
Yes.
And we need to get to a point where we can actually talk about those problems.
Right.
When I speak of tribalism, I talk about my first encounter with tribalism. I was in class 1. That was 1985. I was, maybe 6 years old. Remember, or let me...
Age to rather well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
85 was not even an itch in my daddy's pants, man.
You were not born.
I was nowhere, not even an itch
An itch.
in my daddy's pants.
That's a headache.
Well, it is a headache.
Okay, go ahead.
So I also want to add that my first spoken language was Kikuyu. Because my mother taught at Thogoto Teachers College. Yeah, so when
nice.
my mother was, so of course my friends were home.
Yeah,
so I was one of those children who would be beaten. My first nursery school before we moved to Nairobi was Musagitao.
You almost went to Alliance. You almost did.
Alliance girls.
To that, let me tell you.
almost went to Alliance.
I have roots in Alliance. My
Very
grandfather
nice.
was in Alliance 1937.
Very nice. No, you went to
My
Alliance.
grandfather, 1937. My father was in Alliance.
You went to Alliance.
2 of his brothers were in Alliance.
No. You're a bushman.
So by extension.
Yes.
But I'm a Msongari baby.
You're a Loreto girl.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Get good things.
Okay. There is a whole war between Songari and Valley Road. Okay, but anyways,
So I spoke Kikuyu. That was my first language. We moved to Nairobi because my father had gone for his masters and whatnot. Came back, now moves his family to Nairobi, something. So I go to school, Westlands Primary, and my teacher then was Mrs. Madenge. And as a child, you can feel that there's a way you're not like, but you're just like whatever.
Yeah.
But she made a mistake of referring to me as Uyo Jaruo. And my father, and at this time there was parents, teachers thinking, those days your parents would come to school and then they'd have to make a line and then go to the teacher's desk to follow your performance. This woman didn't even know my name. And then said that that one doesn't even do well in class, whatever. And she can't find my name. And my father, being a lawyer, insisted, what is her name? This one that you are so sure doesn't do well.
Yeah.
Because, of course, when you see my father, you know he's low. You are not going to whatever. Yes, who is it? I know how she does. Who is it?
Yes.
And by the time she finds me, I'm top 10 in the class.
Yeah.
And my father, of course, did not let it pass by. So I'm not a stranger to being sidelined because of who I am. And then again, my father, being a university don, those things were open to us. We knew what it was. We knew what it felt like. We knew for them when they couldn't even speak openly at the university senior common room. We knew when they would be at our house and people be having, some conversations, low tones and whatnot, and some people had to leave the country and things. We are not new to any of those things. It is a problem because, again, then it moves just from that and then it goes to colorism. Because people from where I'm from will naturally be dark. And then, again, that is not even right. I shouldn't even say that because I don't have numbers. I don't have hard facts that 53 are light and 25 are dark.
I can assure you 63 are dark, 47 are darker.
And there are also lighter ones. Because, you have no...
Yes, no, for sure.
Yeah, we can't decide what color you come out. One of my children is light-skinned. But then you start hearing somebody say, I used to be so dark. When I was growing up, people used to say bad things to me. Atiwe anakam jaruo. You know that? Yeah, you know that type of thing. So we have a lot of wounds that nobody really wants to speak about. Right. But then when we come to the political space, with my wounds, you expect me to somehow be okay. Okay, yes.
Let's just laugh together.
Exactly. Yeah. I have some things that I'm fighting. Yeah. And it's even worse now if I decide who I'm supporting, then again you have a problem with that. Because then I'm just like, what's your problem? Right. You have a problem with my education or how I perceive things or my intelligence or lack thereof. You have a problem with my skin color. You have a problem with who I support. You have a problem. What do you want from me? Right. You only like me when I am towing your line. Right. Yeah, when I said Kibaki Tosha was good. That was all right. Yes, but then when I changed, I said, okay, now it's not serving my interest, and now we have a problem. I have a problem with that for over 60 years. I mean, and you see the way they say we inherit these things. We inherit anger. We inherit, disappointment. We inherit all these things. Blood has been shed. Blood has been shed.
Yes. But
suddenly, and I'm not even saying that other people's blood are less, whatever, but why aren't you talking about mine? Is there an expiry date of blood that was shed in 2007?
Yeah. In 69.
In 69.
Yeah.
Is there an expiry date on blood? Why is it now what is being hung on our head that, you people children died, they died there are people whose lives changed in the 60s,
yes,
in the 70s, in the 80s, and whatnot. So this selective, what do you call patriotism? This selective,
you call it selective patriotism?
Yes. That's beautiful. It's an interesting term that I would like to adopt.
You only love the country when what is going on?
When it helps you.
When it helps you. Because the other thing which I was saying, I was sharing with somebody yesterday in an interview, and I was telling them that I come from a collective which is called the Luo community as well.
Yeah.
And that collective has been taught to be has been combatant all its life, since independence. It has never stepped close to power. The only people from that community who are praised, and I remember I did not like being likened to Tom Mboya. And I say this because, if I'm going to be honest, the collective that is the Luo community still likens me to Tom Mboya, and it is not in jest. But we must critically analyze the role of Mboya. The role of Mboya was to annihilate Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. So Mboya was functional to the state of the day, and that is why he got all the platitudes that he got.
Yes.
Who was the president? Unfortunately, it was Jomo Kenyatta. So when we sit down in the collective that is a Luo community, and they tell you, listen, for 60 years, this thing has eluded us. Our people have consistently died. Our people have been used as frontliners, and therefore, right now we are saying we want to enjoy whatever peace that we can find. We've happened to find ourselves in a rather, and this is the first time I'm seeing that the Luos are not in a coalition government, but they're getting.
Of course, they're in a coalition government. Of course, they're in a coalition government.
That is the thing. Now here we will not. Let us just look at the hard fact.
What is the hard fact?
The hard fact is that they are not in a coalition. This is not like Nusumkate. It is implied. There's the implication that if you look at it, you're like, But this is the first time that they have not written down a thing and said that you will take half of government, you'll become prime minister like this, and that.
Lakini si kuna jamaa amesema tunataka kupewa prime minister.
Unasikia hiyo tunataka. Hiyo ni tunataka. But
tunataka.
If you're just to look at it objectively, this is the first time that they're getting executive attention, and suddenly the very people who put this government to power are telling us that suddenly this government is bad because we are not in it.
Yes.
Therefore, I find myself being very conflicted between the new and the old, saying that I want to do this, and I want to do this for king and for country, but the only time I am likable is when I am going against the grain, is when I turn my back against all establishments.
But surely, if I voted for a government with some promises and they're not doing those promises, then I can say that the government is bad.
You cannot blame your ignorance on the government. We shall not devolve. You want us to devolve everything, your ignorance, but nothing else. Yes. So now you want me to carry the burden of your folly.
We tried to.
Because I told you this was better.
Yes.
But now, because the lights are on but nobody is home, you want now to make it my. you want to make it.
Put on the lights. Can I tell you something, people? There is a lady that came that asked me, Jagger, why are you speaking with Kasmuel?
Why not?
So,
no, why?
yes, she asked me, why are you speaking with Kasmuel? Because, well, why are you speaking with Kasmuel, and why is Kasmuel on your show? Because according to her, Kasmuel has let down the country. Okay?
Who had given it to him?
You listen to the story first. Listen to the story first. And then, so I asked her, so let's reverse the roles. If Kasmuel asked me why you are on my platform, what should I tell him?
Yes. Yes.
Because Kasmuel might not like you.
Because I'm an SDA. I don't like the things that she was saying on this show.
So I think that in this country there is some kutano, there is a baraza that was held somewhere and said that everybody has to support someone.
Yes.
You know, I don't like Ruto.
Yes.
I don't support him.
No, at all.
Yes, and your grandfather.
Yes. No, you don't support either of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see, so but I think that you coming and talking about what you think is a good thing.
Exactly.
If you have an enemy, you should know what your enemy is thinking.
Yeah.
Sindio, you should let them speak. So I find, and I do not like the
No,
platform.
I understand what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
I don't
That's
like.
what you're calling me now, Jagero.
What have I called you?
Enemy.
Enemy. You are enemy of so many people in this country. That is not a lie. That's not a lie, bro. That's the truth. So many people. Kwanza, you tweeted the first time when you are in a taxi from Addis going to the airport. I think kizungu mingi ya nini. We kuja home mumeanguka. Walimwambia we come home bro. Story mingi.
Tumia mzee kwa DM.
So anyway, what were we saying? I was saying that
the disagreement.
Yes, I think that. Do you think that Kenya is still tribal, but people are trying to use ideas to, instead of saying I don't like the Luo guy, they say that I don't like you for following Baba or for supporting Ruto?
Classic example. And I do not like. I'm not in the business of tearing any young people down.
Yes.
When the minister for IT was sworn in, there's a person who was a very active voice in the movement, who's doing his social media. It so happens that they come from the same community, and everybody on social media was congratulating him. There have been stories about the Minister of IT. There have been a lot of things said, but to him, it's congratulations. But if I do one tweet about
if you are
Right Honorable Odinga, yeah.
Do you think that this government should change a few things? Because it is also important that we talk about this. What do you think about this government?
You know what I think? I think we stop talking about government like it is some puppeteer that now will do. We are the government.
Okay.
And we really need to start thinking of ourselves as such, because we don't take these things seriously. Half the people you hear shouting on social media don't even have a voter's card. But they'll be saying every big thing, they know everything, but they cannot even vote. That's one thing. Another thing is we should actually be active in party politics. And those are some of the things you should be congratulated for doing. You have a young person in that party who will go and look out for young people's interests. But what we don't do that. We sit back, and when you get into those party things, I'm sure now it's when you realize how disorganized those things are. Because now the only way to fight and get your place is to make as much noise and be as ridiculous as possible, so that you can be seen, and then now you'll be rewarded for helping the party, and that's why we have the people we have today. We have very many people in key positions that don't even know what they're doing. They only know how to shake buttocks and to show us they're smoking weed or partying on the internet, and we have real problems. And that is our fault. Our leaders are a reflection of us.
Who is smoking weed on the internet and showing buttocks?
You know.
I don't know. I think you don't have good plans for me and my children.
That's he's trying to set the money has been poured. Why is he talking to Kasmuel? But I totally agree, because we cannot act as though these leaders came from nowhere. I remember there's this MP who I think at that time I'd been seen with the majority whip, Osoro. And she typed a photo. She tweeted a photo, and she said, and I think it was rather condescending, because she was like, "My son Kazamweri, some spirits are transferable. Beware, some spirits are transferable." And I remember asking her, like how much of a nitwit do you need to be for you to say such things? Because I was like, when you were vouching for this government, were spirits not transferable then? Because you find clips of them saying, Raisi ni wetu ni nani Ruto, deputy wake ni Gasha, senator Karongo wa governor nani wa nani, women rep nani wa Msho, up to MCA.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Spirit's not transferable then. Because, and this is the thing which we have to be very honest. Accept that we have not yet gotten to the point where we've jumped over the barrier of tribalism. And this I will blame on our institutions. Because there has been some clandestine operations around several people. Because there are people who've also suffered such a huge blow. And to be very honest, I'm happy with what President Ruto is doing with the people from Northeastern. Northeastern people are the same people who suffered the Wagala massacre. Do you want to guess how many people died in Wagala? 5,000.
But surely they should be vetting, Kasmuel.
It should be vetting, but it should not be discriminatory.
Yes,
If
I agree.
anyone who
I
comes
agree.
from Migori,
I agree.
anyone who
Yes,
comes from Migori knows this problem. My sister, even us, when we were collecting IDs, if you come, and I'm not even at Migori, Sibania, Migori, Ukurongo sides, you still have to go with a barua from the chief and your great grandfather's poll tax. You know those kinds of things. It's a madness, and I'm happy that we are getting to the point where, for far too long on social media, we used to call them Waria or Somalis. Now, because it is seen that President Ruto is endearing himself to them, people are now calling them our brothers from Northeastern.
But he said, but he said
yes,
that the vetting should stop. I think that was not the language he should have used.
That is, now we are getting into semantics. However, anyone you've heard from Northeastern is saying that, and even because we have to look at their smartest people. How comes when Senior Counsel Orengo speaks, we think that is a valid opinion, but if Akina Welie and Akina Grand Mullah speak, we don't think that they have substance. We should also accept that their intellectuals are just as good as our intellectuals. So if they are high people from the highest echelons of education are saying this thing is good, we must give them some credit and say that yes, we are not saying that we want aliens to come into our country. We're not saying that we just want discriminatory practices.
And Ruto does not want aliens to come into this country.
I cannot speak for Ruto.
Have aliens been coming to the country?
Yes. Before Ruto, have aliens been coming?
Let's finish this conversation by going back to Addis Ababa. Tell us the intimate moments after the loss. What was in the room?
I think, man, there are people who did not want Right Honorable Raila Odinga to win, because their politics has been consistently organized around him carrying their hands and has been organized around them leeching off his presidential campaign. Those people were there. And I thought it was rather sinister that, and you see, alcohol exposes people. It's one of those things where people now start shouting and chanting their opinions. Well, they're not shouting, but you hear it. You hear through the malaise, and you hear through the nonsense, and you see that there are people who are just actually happy that he did not win. But there was a collective, the hearts of the people in the room sunk as though this was a first time. So for me, it was rather hard because I'd seen the campaign and I was rather optimistic that we were going to win. But again, there was a solidarity. So there was the win, when we heard what had happened and people at the Radisson and hearts have sunk, but then there was a dinner which was supposed to be celebratory, but then it was anticipated to be a celebratory dinner, but then it just ended up being.
So this is the dinner where the Right Honorable Ringo was speaking, Ruto was speaking.
And Akina Msalia and the High Commissioner and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I remember people being in the room and nobody knew. It was rather tense because some people are saying that what were broad-based wametuosha. And some other people are just like, okay, so now what's going to happen? And everyone's asking, so what's going to happen when we touch down in Nairobi? So what's the direction? And I think they navigated the tension quite well because they come in and they're in rather well-measured spirits, and they sit down, and the speeches are the thing which I feel cut through the tension in the room, because everybody was just waiting for the speech of the president and the former prime minister. because all these other people, from the crowd, we just thought were noisemakers, trying to all the platitudes. No, keep them to yourself. And the president and right now, Raila Odinga stands up and he says, "Good evening. I was not prepared to make this speech." And you could just see everyone was. However, I would like to end. I was just. Everybody sat down, and he goes ahead and thanks everybody who was in the campaign, and tells us, man, he knows there are people who came by bus. He knows there are people, yes, and he knows there are people who came here who borrowed money, who copied. And you see, there are people who were trying to like float an opulence type thing. I know, like for example, assemblies were given 3 slots. Yeah, so out of your whatever assembly, Nairobi, 3 slots for travel, 3 slots for this one, whatever. But then he thanks everybody, and he's very careful meticulous about the factions. And then he gets to the president, and he says that I know that there are people who will say that I failed because President Ruto did not want me to win. He wanted me to be embarrassed. He even acknowledges and says, because some people think I'm too old and tired. And it's the first time I hear him in public approaching us as fully human, and he didn't give a damn about what anyone thought. Because, for the longest time, we've pedestalized the man. Yes. And when he comes, it's Jogi. And we give them this, this enigmatic aura. And that evening, he was at that dinner as a human.
A human being.
Yes. Yeah. And that cuts through the entire, the tension. And, President Ruto is a really powerful orator. And he goes in and navigates the thing. And then suddenly, there was a sadness, and the hearts were low and whatnot. But I saw for the first time people not even trying to talk about their political divides. It was the first time I saw all these people who do not agree somehow and are always at each other's necks, just thinking about Kenya. And I wish more of us could do that, because the political class seems to have figured that out, that we could disagree politically, but sometimes we can set aside our individual opinions.
That's why it was very interesting that a lot of people from Mount Kenya were in a celebratory mood, and yet their king, quote unquote, was congratulating the president. But then the last question is, now that Raila is back, what happens now? You've thought about it.
I think he will give further direction, because you see now it's a.
No. I'm not talking about what he's gonna do. I'm asking you what you think.
There are people who've had some reprieve, because their politics, as I've said, has been organized around leeching off of Mr. Odinga. But I hope that he comes back more selfish. As a stricter man.
You agree?
I just hope that he does not come back and dishes out his time to people who are not doing anything to contribute to his legacy. Because everyone just uses his name to spew all sorts of nonsense. I hope that he just says that, he's only deal with the people who now just further the interests of his legacy. And because nowadays, you hear, and there's a time we sat down here and people said, is ODM split into 2? You have people singing this song and other people singing this song, and from ideology. I just hope that when Mzee comes back, he just figures out what does my legacy look like and who are the people who are going to align. If ODM is the legacy, can it go back? Because you see it turns 20 this year. Can it go back to its basics? Can we try and see, can it go back to what the initial vision was? I hope he comes back with clarity.
What are your last words, Felgona?
I'm hoping we can have more sober conversations. We can have truthful conversations and be able to sit through uncomfortable ones without resorting to name calling and what have you. Because I think it's time we became mature in our politics, especially, because we are not.
Great. This is your camera, Kasmuel. You finish this show.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the Political Headache for this episode that we've had with Odor Jagero and Ms. Felgona. Thank you for joining us for this episode, and we hope that you can interact with us, give us your comments and your thoughts on what political headaches you have. If you have topics you want us to address, let us know. That will be it from this side. See you on the next one.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
Good one.
Naweza waacha sasa muongelee heartbreak.